Morning. We will pay attention to the creditors control and creditors ledger to reconcile the list with the creditors control. Before we start with the question, I just want to explain to you again. Say for instance we buy things from ABC, a total amount of 1,800, and it is for instance for trading stock. Then we buy from XYZ and we buy 4,700, and it's for instance for equipment. At the end of the month, I will add up all my journals to see what is the totals that I must book over to the general ledger. So in my general ledger, I will have an account for creditors control, and the amounts that are recorded in the creditors control account is always the total of your creditors column in all 7 the journals. Okay, so if I add up and I say, okay, this total is 5,500, 1,800, 4,700. The amount that I will take to the creditors control is the total amount of all the transactions in the creditors journal. So I will show the 5,500 on the credit side. The individual entries will be posted to the account of your creditor in the creditors ledger. So we will, for instance, show in ABC we purchase goods for 1,800. For XYZ we purchase things for 4,700. So if I have 40 creditors, I will have a separate account for each one of them, and in this account I will show how much I owe. So when we buy, return goods or payments, so that we can always see how much money we owe the creditor. At the end of the month, I will open a creditors list and I will take the closing balances of all my creditors, and I will add up these amounts to see what is the total amount that I owe to my creditors. Okay, so if I add this, I get 6,500. Now, if I do everything correctly, it means that my creditors control balance must be the same as my creditors list, because the individual entries in the journals are posted to the creditors ledger, and the total of all the entries are posted to the creditors control. So if I look at this, I can see that there's a mistake, because in the one it's 6,500 and in the other one it's 5,500. So I have to go back to the journals to see where did I make a mistake. And if I look at my creditors control column, I can see that I made an adding mistake there. This amount should have been 6,500. So it means that in this creditors control account, I must add 1,000 on the credit side. So when they tell you that there's a mistake, the first thing that you must do, read the mistake or the information that they give you, and then you must decide, must that entry be corrected in the creditors control account, or must it be corrected in the creditors list? So did I make a mistake in the creditors control, or did I make a mistake in the creditors ledger? If the total of a column is incorrect, it will always only be corrected in the creditors control, because this total was posted to the creditors control. If I make a mistake in the individual account of a debtor, so they tell you you posted it to the wrong person's account or to the wrong side of the account, or you didn't record something in the creditors ledger, then you will only correct it in the creditors ledger. All the other entries, if you make a mistake in the journal, it means that I will take that incorrect amount to the creditors account, and because there's an incorrect amount, the total will be wrong, and then I will also show the wrong amount in the creditors control. So what I have to do, any entry where there was a mistake in a journal or an entry was not recorded in the journal, it means that I must correct it on both places. So your first step is decide, must I correct it in the creditors control, must I correct it in the creditors ledger, or both places. Then you must look, where did I make the mistake? I recorded the amount on the credit side. Was this too much or too little? This was too little, so it means I will correct it on the credit side. Okay, we will look at this exercise now. We will do the errors and omissions now that must be corrected. In the creditors control column in the creditors journal was undercast by 550. The totals of a column is only transferred to the control account, so it means the mistake was only made in the control account. We will not take it to the creditors ledger. Okay, that was in the creditors journal, so I must go and look where I've got the creditors journal, and they say it was undercast by 550, so we didn't have enough, so we have to add 550 to that amount that we owe more money. An EFT to a creditor for 1010 was recorded as 1,100 in the journal. If we make a mistake in the journal, we have to adjust it in the ledger, and we have to adjust it in the creditors list. Okay, so if we look at the EFT, it was for 1010. We recorded it as 1,100, so it means we put 90 Rand too much when we paid this money. So in the cash payments journal, we have to show that this amount includes 90 Rand that's not supposed to be there. Okay, this amount was paid to Collins. Because we made a mistake in the journal, we also transferred it to his account, and it means that I will take the 1,100 minus the 1,010, and we will indicate that we owe 90 Rand more. A credit note received from Mudguy was incorrectly totaled as 450. The correct amount was 350. Okay, so there was a mistake on the source document, so the incorrect amount was recorded in the journal. So we have to correct it in both places. The credit note was 450. It was only supposed to be 350. So we will go to the creditors allowances journal, and we will show that we will deduct 100 Rand there. This was for Dyer, and if we added too much on the debit side, so the total was incorrect, it means that for Dyer we will have to show that we owe 100 Rand more. An invoice received from Renton Suppliers for 2150 was posted to the wrong side of his account in the subsidiary ledger. Okay, invoice received will go in the creditors journal. It was received for 2150, and it was correctly recorded in the journal, so there's no mistake in your control account, but it was posted to the wrong side of the account. So it means if we receive an invoice in my creditors account, I must have 2,150 on the credit side. What did we put in? We said 2,150, and we posted it to the wrong side of the account. So we indicated this 2150 on the debit side. This is incorrect. So how will I correct it? First of all, I must cancel this 2150 so that this balance will now be naught. And then this is what I want. I want to indicate that we owe 2,150 more for the creditor, so it means I will have to record it twice on the credit side. So whenever you record an entry on the wrong side of the account, you will have to correct it twice on the other side. Okay, this credit note was to invoice 2150, and that was to Renton. So it means I will have to show that amount twice in that account. So my creditor will actually go up with 4,300 rand. A payment made to a King, a creditor, for 6750 was in error posted to the account of K King, another creditor. So there was no mistake in the control account. Individual accounts of the creditor, that's where we made the mistake. So we made the payment to A King. So it means in A King's account, I must show that we will decrease it with 6,750. And then in the account where we made a mistake in K King, we will show that we have to correct that mistake by adding the amount back to his account. Strachan Limited charged Little Goods Stores 240 Rand interest as their account was overdue. No entry has been made. If no entry has been made, it means that we have to correct it in both places. So in my creditors control in the general journal, I will indicate that I owe 240 Rand more, and then I will also go to the account of Strachan and I will show that we owe them 240 Rand extra. Debtors with credit balances totaling 1050 have been included in the provisional creditors list. The debtors balances, even if it has credit balances, cannot be recorded in your creditors list, because then the creditors list will not agree with your creditors control account. So it means we have to take out that 1,050 to indicate that those balances should not be recorded there. Okay, if we look at the sundry accounts, it means if I subtract the amount, it will give me 1,200. Bank and discount, we have to add the 3,100 minus the 90, and that will give me 70,510. And the journal debits will be 460. I will add here, so this will give me 55,550. The bank amount is 450, and if I add these two together, it will give me 1140. So it means when I do this creditors control, I will indicate the adding or subtracting of amounts just below the entry that we record for the journal, so that we can show our calculations there. Okay, creditor always has a credit balance because it's a liability, so the balance will have to be carried over on the debit side. Then we will calculate the total, and the balance will then go down on the credit side balance drawdown. Okay, so I add up the credit side and it will give me a total of 152,140. So the debit total must also be 152,140. Then I subtract all these figures on the debit side, and the balancing figure is then 79,850, and that is the balance that we will transfer to the next financial year. Okay, if I add up my creditors list, I will see that this total is 79,850. Now, the whole purpose of the reconciliation of the creditors control with the creditors list is to determine if we correct all the mistakes and we record all the entries that were not recorded, will we get the same answer? So if there's no more mistakes, these two should be the same.